Hi, welcome. I'm a full-time teacher working in an international school that uses the International Baccalaureate or IB program. And I'm nearing the end of my Masters of Education that I'm doing online. I'm doing my course through the University of the People, so this video will give you an understanding of my learning through this program. There are other online options out there, but hopefully this will give you an idea of what you can gain from further study, both online and remote. I won't be talking about things like tuition or course structure here. You can go find all those things on the University of the People website. The main goal here is to give you a reflection of my student experience and the benefits that I feel that I've enjoyed, in the hopes that it will help someone else with their decisions. So the reason I started this journey 3 years ago was pretty simple. I wanted to feel more confident in my teaching. At the beginning of my career, I often felt unsure or overwhelmed, and my goal was to get to a place where the classroom didn't feel like such a stressful space. By the time I started the program, I was lucky enough to already have my qualified teacher status and to be in a full-time teaching position as a grade 5 teacher in an IB school. Doing the degree online meant that I could keep teaching while I studied, and I liked that I could apply what I was learning directly to the challenges in my classroom. I wasn't doing the degree just to get a qualification or to check a box. I was doing it simply to improve. So up next, I want to share some of the main ways I feel that I've improved throughout my journey. One of the most important things that has changed for me through this degree is that I've noticed how my philosophy of education has evolved thanks to exposure to so many different perspectives. In the early years of my teaching, the goal was classroom mastery. The thought was that if I mastered my classroom, I would feel less anxious each day about teaching. I thought success was about routines and systems and always having the perfect plan. And to an extent, it worked. Those things do matter, but over time, I've evolved my focus. A big influence here was Heidi Hayes-Jacobs and Alison Zmuda's work on streamlining the curriculum. I started using storyboards to frame units of inquiry, and the process helped me to realize that the best learning happens when students are engaged in a meaningful journey. Students are involved in the process of deciding how that journey looks for them and have a stake in their own success that is rooted in real-world experiences. These days, I try to co-design learning with colleagues and students that encourages curiosity and student voice rather than just trying to keep everything running smoothly all the time. So I've worked in IB schools for about 5 years now, but it wasn't until I made a real effort to study the program standards and practices in my learning theory course that I really understood how the framework fits together. When I linked the IB concepts to research, for example, Piaget's stages of cognitive development or to Gagne's 9 events of instruction, it really started to click. I even created these visuals comparing IB and WASC accreditation, and that helped me to see how both systems aim to support learners holistically. Now, I use that knowledge in planning meetings, when helping students, in talking to parents, and when mentoring colleagues. It's giving me the language and the confidence to back up the work that I do as an IB educator. One of the best parts of this program has been the tools that I've created along the way. I still use the curriculum storyboards every week. They help students stay focused on the big ideas and connect their learning over time. Another big one is my assessment power protocol. It's a flowchart that I made to support assessment for, as, and of learning across a unit of inquiry. I was struggling to see where each piece fits into the classroom, and I was weary of how the learning is affected. So I shared it with my colleagues, and now we use it to help us think more intentionally about the right moments for assessment, the tools we have, and the options for reflection and feedback. I also designed these team-based learning cards to support cooperative learning and classroom management. Additionally, I regularly refer to the Universal Design for Learning guidelines to make my planning more inclusive, or the restorative justice cards that I found, in order to help students through difficult situations. These tools came out of my course assignments, but they've become part of my actual teaching, and I'm proud to have created or implemented them. Throughout my journey, there have been these moments of growth that have really given me a sense of fulfillment and progression along this program. One of those moments that really sticks out for me is when I created a free inquiry guidebook inspired by John Dewey's ideas about experiential learning. I shared it with my team to support a student-led inquiry, and seeing the teachers and students actually use it to create a wonderful experience was a real highlight for me. Another moment was running a professional development program where I used research that I'd come across during my studies, like the Assessment Capable Learner document from the IB and Alfie Kohn's critique on grading, to guide the discussion. I realized that I was doing more than just sharing my practice. I was sharing ideas that were actually grounded in research. I was working with colleagues and parents to grow our understanding of what works and why, and moving our school ever closer to our goals. That change, being able to really explain why I teach the way that I do, felt really good. So if I had to offer any advice, it's this. If you're able to, take your time. I'm doing the program slowly while teaching full-time. That pace let me try things out and reflect. Every course gave me something that I could use, whether it was the Universal Design for Learning framework, strategies for inclusive classrooms, or tools to develop approaches to learning skills. The steady pace allows me the brain space to take things further than the basic requirements, and the time to test and try out things. I also found that because I chose to do this program, I was more invested. I was building things that I could use with my students. I was growing in confidence and strengthening my foundation so that flexibility became more possible. The mindset of being a learner and a designer has stuck with me, and it's something that I try to model for my students now too. This program gave me more than just readings and assignments. It gave me the context, the space to reflect and grow. I've become more thoughtful about the kind of experience I want students to have. I've created tools that support real classroom needs, and I've developed more confidence in articulating what good teaching looks like. What really stands out to me is how the course content, assignments, discussions, and reflections all worked together over time. It wasn't just one powerful unit or one reading. It was the steady rhythm of learning, being introduced to new ideas week after week, that kept my mind turning. The long-term exposure helped shift my thinking in ways that I couldn't have predicted at the start. And as you've seen in this video, many of the tools and ideas that I've shared weren't required. They were inspired by the thinking I was doing throughout the program. I didn't just complete assignments, I built things that would help my future self and my students. That kind of inspiration, sparked by ongoing learning, has been the biggest takeaway for me. It also reminded me that growth doesn't always come from top-down workshops or formal training. Sometimes the best professional development happens when teachers are given the time and the brain space to reflect on their own questions and develop solutions to their own problems. That has been the most meaningful part of this journey. So was it worth it? For me, yes. But it worked because the context and mindset I am in allowed me to consistently connect to my daily teaching life. It allows me the space to work at a natural pace. It gives me real-world problems to solve and the time to try things out, iterate, and grow. I'm not saying it will only work in a context such as mine, and I don't think a master's program magically changes everything. But when you approach any learning as a way to reflect and grow, and you do what you can to enjoy the experience, it can have a real impact. If you're thinking about doing something like this, I'd say think about your context. What adjustments can you make physically and mentally to enjoy the experience? What do you want to get out of it? What problems do you want to solve? And what are you able to give? The program gives you the raw materials, the seeds. But in the end, you choose where to plant it and how to water and care for it.